One of our stops on our trip to Washington County, Indiana is of course historic Beck's Mill, and I am with Gary. You're the president of Friends with Beck's Mill. Thank you so much for having us out today.
It's great to have you.
It's a little warm today, not gonna lie, but the mill is beautiful. We hear a little bit of the water in the background, but tell us about this place and take us back to when this was first discovered.
Well, George Beck came here in 1808 on a land grant. They followed a bear and found a cave. This gave the family the idea to build a gristmill. The original mill was built by George Beck in 1808. It burned out in the 1868s, and this is the mill that was built in 1863-64.
Wow. And a lot of the pieces of the mill, they're still original, is that right?
This mill is totally original. We still have the original grist mill, flour mill, and carding machines from the 1800s.
That is incredible, and that truly makes this one of a kind in Indiana, is that right?
Yes, it is. We're the only all-original mill in Indiana.
You know, it is so important to have these spaces alive and well, but it does take a lot of money to restore these places as well, and you actually received a pretty big grant to do just that, right?
Yes, the Gail and William Cook Foundation from Bloomington came, saw the mill in 2006. He offered to fully restore the mill, and they brought together all the people necessary to fully restore the mill to what it should be. And we thank them for their participation and for their grant to fully restore this building. It cost over $1 million to restore.
Wow, and so why was it so important to have something like this back in the day?
Back in the day, back in the early 1800s, farmers had corn, wheat, barley. They had to bring it here to have it milled so they could make breads, cornmeal, and different food sources for them. This mill also had a sawmill that used to be located off the front of it, so they would saw wood. On the second floor, there's carding machines that were in the spring. The sheep would be sheared. They would bring the wool here to be carded and cleaned, and then they would spin that into the yarns and threads that they use for their textiles.
So important to have something like this, and still just so amazing that it still stands today. And so is the mill still in operation?
We have 5 major events every year. Fiber Revival is in the spring, and that is where we demonstrate, with the help of Indiana University, everything from shearing sheep to cleaning the wool, carding the wool. We have people that will then be doing spinning wheels and spinning that wool into yarns, and then different students from IU will then show different crafts.
And so what are those other events that you have as well?
We also have a spring flower walk. We have the grind, which is a 5K run. We have the birthday of the mill in August, and then we have Oktoberfest in October to celebrate the Beck family founding the mill.
So special, and people can come out really any time of the year and enjoy this. And so other than the mill itself, what else can you explore while you're here?
We have trails. We also have a cabin, which is a reenactment of the original Beck cabin. We have a blacksmith shop and a carpenter shop. And of course, these are all open on Saturdays between 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock.
So anyone can come on out when you visit Washington County. And so you are the president of Friends of Beck Mill, all volunteer ran. Why is it so important to keep spaces like this still running?
It's for the history. So much history is lost. And people don't understand that back in the 1800s, the farmers had to come to a place like this in order to get their food. The miller was paid by getting part of the grain that the farmer brought in. That's how he got paid. I mean, back in the 1800s, early 1900s, this was also the gathering place for the local farmers. It was also the local post office. So it served many purposes throughout the year.
I mean, we just celebrated America's 250th anniversary. And again, it's so important to keep that history alive and well. It kind of tells the story of America, if you will. So if people are interested in planning out their trip, I know you also sell some items in the mill as well. How can people learn more?
We have two websites. There's becksmill.org. There is becksmill.com. And there is also the Friends of Becksmill.org. They give the dates of when our major events are. They give our hours when open. If there's major inclement weather or a weather event, they will tell the public whether we're open or closed. If there's flooding, because we do flood when the water rises, we will close the mill for safety purposes.
So you definitely want to check out those sites before you head on out here. Gary, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
All right, to learn more, just head over to becksmill.org.